Taliban. And we never really engaged the people in their houses, in their communities, in their small towns.
Now, there was talk during some of this period about a counterinsurgency initiative known as COIN, in which the man you mentioned, David Petraeus, was one of the early promoters and practitioners. Did that not learn from the lessons of Vietnam? Did it not replicate chords, and in what way did it not?
No, it was a terrible disappointment to me. If you take Petraeus's COIN manual, about this thick, my memory is, don't hold me to it, Frank, but my memory is there's like 1/2 of one page on chords.
Wow.
What Petraeus and his colleague who wrote the manual, developed the manual, totally overlooked was the political side, the people side. The point of COIN is to use foreign forces or really central government forces to quote unquote protect the people. It's people centric. There's no real discussion in there of letting the people defend themselves, develop their own communities, and govern their own communities. Petraeus never got the political genius of Bob Comer and Bill Colby, who created the CORDS program.
And is it too late now, Steve, if a course correction were made by the president deciding not to abandon Afghanistan and to utilize this, perhaps with some support from, I don't know, contractors maybe to assist in the larger security environment, but removing that big American footprint, but still not abandoning the place to the Taliban and other enemies of this country?
Absolutely. CORDS could be done immediately with civilians, contractors in various ways. I think the critical point, which our elite frankly doesn't see, and Biden, who talks a lot about inclusion and diversity these days, he and his team don't particularly see it. When you trust the people, when you work with the people, you can always get good results.
That's the key takeaway, and we have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Steve Young from the CO Roundtable on Moral Capitalism, for your insights, your recollection, your corporate memory. We need it urgently now. CORDS does seem to me to be the preferred alternative to surrender. We'll talk next with Todd Bensman about surrendering at our border and what we need to be doing about that instead.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Welcome back, and a special welcome to our next guest. He is Todd Bensman. He is an accomplished investigative journalist, a former intelligence official in the Texas Department of Public Safety, the senior national security fellow at the inestimably important Center for Immigration Studies, and most recently the author of America's Covert Border War, the untold story of America's battle to prevent jihadist infiltration. We're always glad to catch up with him down on the border, where he is now monitoring the crisis at hand. Todd Bensman, it's good to have you with us. Welcome back.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Where are we catching up with you?
So I am in Sierra Blanca, Texas, on Interstate 10 at a major Border Patrol checkpoint, checking for illegal immigrants on the vehicles and trucks. This is in the Big Bend sector of the border, and I selected this area to come visit because the latest CBP data shows a 365% increase in apprehensions of adult illegal immigrants. So this is not the family units or the children. These are adults who are backpacking in huge numbers through this very rugged terrain here.
Now, you, I guess, didn't get the memo, Todd. I think you just referred to them as illegal immigrants. They're now described as undocumented migrants, as I understand it. Can you explain why we're being told that this is a horse of a different color, as it were?
You know, it's just Democratic crockpot stuff. Every time Democrats get into office, I mean, we saw this happen with the Obama administration. It doesn't mean anything statutorily. They're illegal aliens. That's the language of the statute. I'm going with the statute language. Sorry, guys.
I'd stick with it too. Yes, indeed. Let's talk more about the crisis. As I understand it, Joe Biden actually acknowledged that that's what it is. I guess his press spokesperson, Jen Psaki, walked it back a little bit. But is there any doubt in your mind, as a guy who has monitored this border closely and been particularly seized with the dangers of it being less than secure for, well, a long time and perhaps more assiduously than just about anybody else, is it anything other than a crisis, and is it getting worse or better?
It's a crisis. I'm glad they finally copped to it. It was becoming increasingly ridiculous that they were avoiding and denying because the numbers are the numbers. The numbers should just go ever skyward on a trajectory that kind of looks like this. I'm thinking that the April numbers will be well in excess of 200,000. That's just apprehensions and encounters. We just think that the policies, not when I say we, I mean the immigrants themselves, who I interview on a regular basis. I was just interviewing them over in Mexico this whole week. They are coming here because the administration promised that they would get in. So of course they're coming, and they're going to come in increasing numbers until that changes. I don't think that's going to change. I don't see any hint that it's going to change. So it's just going to be skyward and to a point where it's just historic numbers for the country. It's a historic event, you could say, of a population
I'd use
transfer.
Another adjective, I'd say catastrophic for the country. You mentioned apprehensions and interceptions, Todd. What is your working model of how many more are getaways relative to those that have actually been intercepted or apprehended?
Very significant. If I've seen now CBP does not publish got away numbers, but we've had them leaked. So just to give you an idea, last month there were 172,000 encounters with real immigrants, illegal aliens, and there were 40,000 more off book that were gotaways that they believe got through. That's a, 20, do the math, that's 25-30% more than we thought. In a sector like Big Bend, though, where the Border Patrol is very, very thin, there might be half a dozen Border Patrol agents on a 60-mile section of border. Right. They tell me that the gotaways are in the 70 and 80% range here. They catch a tiny fraction of what they think is going through in the Big Bend section.
That's a huge problem, especially when the numbers themselves of the intercepts are so large. Todd, we've got 2 minutes. I'd like you to hit quickly, if you would, 2 topics that I know you're intimately familiar with. One is the degree to which we're witnessing people with COVID-19 coming into this country and then being shipped all over it, and what the public health implications of that might be. And then the topic of your important new book about jihadists from all over the world trying to get here.
Okay, quickly. First of all, gotaways obviously are not being checked for COVID. So if you have thousands of gotaways moving into the interior of the country through checkpoints like this, those trucks are not being checked very often. Probably every few ones of them are have some illegals in there. Those are not being checked. There is some COVID testing, thankfully, being done on the family units that are being apprehended before they're released onto the buses. I don't know how widespread that is, but I know that in some places it's happening. As to the national security threat, that is going to increase and elevate as this crisis elevates as well, because it tends to collapse the systems. They just caught 2 Yemenis a few weeks ago who are on the FBI's terror watch list. One of them was on the no-fly list. Those people are still coming in. The subject of my book, America's Covert Border War, that's what it's all about, those kind of illegal immigrants.
Todd, we're hard out of time. Thank you for joining us for this update, and come back to us again very soon if you would. And thanks to the rest of you for joining us for this edition of Securing America. I hope you feel better equipped to join us in doing just that. And for more on what you can do, I hope you'll visit our website, securingamerica.tv. And then I hope very much that, being informed by the kinds of information we've imparted to you, you will go forth and multiply.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
All right. I will tell you, this Arizona story, like I said, I did not expect to be seeing it, to be covering it again tonight after we covered it last night. It is obviously strange. It's laughable in lots of ways. But former President Trump, put out a statement today lauding this and talking about how this was going to reveal the truth of the 2020 election and citing a whole bunch of other states that are also going to now do this to reveal the truth of the 2020 election. And he's still maintaining this fantasy that he somehow won and that Joe Biden isn't really the president anymore. He's not the legitimate president. What the Arizona Republicans are doing here, this process by which they are bastardizing the actual secure election from November 2020, and they're going to produce some result that says that it was some other fraudulent thing, will be used by the Trump part of the Republican Party and the Trump right to cast doubt on the 2020 election among their most fervent supporters in a way that none of their failed lawsuits in the past have been able to do. They got the actual ballots and they handed them to conspiracy theorists who say that, you know, QAnon is the mastermind or whatever it is that stopped this, that they need to use to stop the steal and all. I mean, the craziest parts of the pro-Trump conspiracy theory world have the actual ballots and are going to declare that something different happened in the election in Arizona than what really happened. And that will become a lie that they try to live on and build on for a long time to come. You watch. This is a ridiculous story that will become very dangerous in the long run. I'll be right back.
Oh, my girl Rachel is so worried. I love this so much. You don't know how much I love this. That is the managing editor, the editor-in-chief of MSNBC. And really, she's the railhead. You know, Stanford graduate, incredibly smart. I don't agree with her politics, and she goes down rabbit holes like on the Russia hoax. She gets a little, you know, crazed sometimes. However, she is the editor-in-chief and the chief thinker at MSNBC. And for a lot of the progressive left, she has mini-me Chris Hayes and, of course, all the other aspects of MSNBC. That is last night, ladies and gentlemen. She did one on Thursday that wasn't quite as powerful because, remember, yesterday Democrats went to court, tried to get a TRO. Judge was not prepared to give him a TRO, was prepared to do a pause to get additional documentation over the weekend to have another hearing on Monday. But he said, guys, you know, the Senate in Arizona, everybody's gone through this. It's put up or shut up. You got to put up $1 million, and that $1 million could actually go to pay for the time that you're burning here with the audit. And the Democratic Party blinked. Okay, in studio today, we're going to do a 2-hour drill down on many different aspects. But I want to go back. You're in the war room. It's Saturday, the 24th of April, the year of our Lord 2021. Where did April go? Closing in on 50 million downloads on the podcast, but real live everywhere. John Fredericks Radio Network. I want to thank the folks in Atlanta, AM 1690, WMLB. We're going to get to Georgia in a little while. Real America's Voice, Ben Bergquam, is starting a nationwide tour. We're going to go from Georgia all the way down to the Rio Grande. Hope we can get him in Arizona. Also, we're on Dish 219, on the cable, Comcast 113, Roku, Pluto, all of it, of course, in Mandarin. to Lao Beijing and to the diaspora simultaneously on G News, GTV, and through the firewall into mainland China later in the day, which the transnational criminal organization that is the Chinese Communist Party, they love that. They just love Lao Beijing getting the voice of freedom and the voice of our support for the freedom movement of the Chinese people. Okay, my in-studio guest for 2 hours is Dr. Peter Navarro, and here's why. We cannot move forward. And you see Rachel Maddow, you see her eyes, the worry in her eyes, and all this. I didn't expect to be seeing this. She changed that, covering this story, about Biden's legitimacy. Note to Rachel's producers and the writers. I think it's close to somewhere between 41 and 50% now. Think that they question Biden's legitimacy right now. And now Rachel, as she's twitching there, she's not talking about machines. She's talking about physical ballots. We got the receipts. Yes, Rachel, we have the receipts, and it's going to be totally open. Let's go right now. Have Denver, I got enough. Okay, good. But it's in the small screen. But let's put it up. You can take Navarro. People see enough of Navarro. You actually. By the way, did you go to the dressing room department today, and they got you're coming in band in black here?
You don't want to see my guns here?
It's a gun show. I thought you. I mean, why don't you like Stephanie Ruhle? Why don't you just wear a tank top? Okay.
I got one right off the bat for the chat room.
Okay, go ahead.
The chat room, 30 seconds.
Okay, do it.
Because there's a single
play to the crowd. You always do.
There's a single word that describes exactly what Rachel Maddow was doing last night. Okay, one single word. If you kind of go around all the things she said, laughable, fantasy, this, that, and the other thing. This, Steve, the word is classic inoculation operation. Okay, now what do I mean by that? It's like in politics, when there's a high hard one coming at your head, what you want to do is get out in front of it and spin a story that will inoculate you against the truth, right? So what we're going to do today, we're going to show you some slides and things about the receipts and what exactly they're looking for in Arizona. But what Maddow knows, what she knows in her bones, is that this election was stolen.
Big time.
That it was stolen by Molly Ball's team on Time Magazine cover, right?
Yep.
I mean, she named names, all the operatives. Then they bragged about it.
The reason they got the covers, they bragged about it.
So what Rachel was doing was basically inoculating the left and everybody else against the reality, the likelihood, high probability that they're going to find among those over 2 million votes massive and different types of fraud, illegal aliens voting, people voting multiple times, this, that, and the other thing. So that's exactly what she was doing. Now, I would like to spend a night with Rachel Maddow. Don't get me wrong here. I'd like to do it on set with her and see how laughable it is. I'd like to basically go on with Rachel Maddow and talk about the 3-volume Navarro report on peternavarro.com and go through the receipts.
Well,
that's what we're going to do today.
We're going to go through that, but I don't think. Look, you're going to have a hand. This is a forensic hand audit. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, just as a news update, it starts today, and President Trump has just put out a statement. If I can pull this up momentarily, from the 45th President of the United States, Democrats. This is from President Trump, an official statement. Democrats are doing everything they can to stop the great patriots of Arizona from doing a forensic audit of the 2020 presidential election scam. If you want to watch these patriots in action, go to, and he's got the site.
See, I'm of the belief at this point, Steve, that it's not just conservative Republican so-called patriots, right? I think there's legitimate concern.
There is.
As we watch the Biden administration unfold, because there's just a lot of mainstream Democrats right now looking at what the Biden White House is doing. It's gone full left,
That's
full
radical.
Progressive, and they're thinking to themselves now, how did this happen? Right? And so I think we should treat this Arizona event as one of the single most important things in American democracy.
Well, it's
American
political
history.
You've never had anything at this scale. That's why you see in the small box there. you'll be able to see.
And it's going to be a case study, Steve, on exactly how you game an election. Let me know when you want to go through
hang on. We're going to go through them. Hang on a second. One second. I just want to make sure. I want to contextualize this. Rachel Maddow's worried because she did think the Democratic Party would stand up and actually give a weekend to be able to get the narrative and build it up bigger. They waited until we actually were finishing the training and about to start when they dropped the lawsuit. And what she was, I think what they were caught and shocked about, she didn't have a package ready. Yeah. That was her for about a minute and a half, 90 seconds, right into the camera, unscripted, from her heart, right? Listen, I never discount.
From her fearful heart.
I never discount our opponents ever. These are smart people and they're tough people. I think their policies are crazy. I think a lot of the policies are to destroy the sovereignty of this country. I don't believe in their political philosophy or in the way they roll. However, they're brutal, right? And they're organized. And I thought they were caught by surprise. The Democratic Party didn't put the $1 million in cash up. I still thought maybe they'd try to go to federal court. But to get the TRO, to get the more documentation this weekend to see. Now, I think what the judge said yesterday, he said, hey, we're doing this audit, okay? It's just got to comply with Arizona law. And you guys got to come in and tell me why it doesn't comply, because it looks like, I'm not going to make a judgment, but they've got their procedures. You come in and tell me what's different, and you got to put up $1 million. And if they are, because it's going forward, it's only about how we're going to do the procedures. And if you delay this, boom, you're going to have to pay for those days. The 40-day clock starts today. They start, and you're going to see in a little while, I think, while we're still live, that they will actually be, people will be coming onto the floor to actually do the count.
And let's remember what the victory margin was in Arizona. Go for the chat room now. What do we remember in the chat room?
I think it's 8,700 votes right now, right?
And they're counting over 2 million.
Yeah, 2.1 million. Yep. It's about 8,700.
That's Maricopa County.
Remember when Boris Epstein went out there, it was 200,000. When Rudy made the presentation, right? Remember Rudy's presentation at the Hyatt for 14 hours or whatever. And listen, Navarro and I are not machine guys, right? The whole thing on machines is going to be worked out. Right now it's going to be in court. You got suits, you got countersuits, you got new suits, right, from Mike Lindell and the team at Dershowitz is having a suit from MyPillow. And they're going to get into the machines. People are but as Peter and I have said, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit potential.
Yeah,
it could turn out it was all correct. If that's all I would ask the Democrats is, why don't you pitch in here and help? That's what democracy is about. And this is the patriots out there, and I think that's what Trump has given a shout out to. This is all because of the grassroots in Arizona. It was so easy to quit on this, so easy to stop. And they had to organize, they had to have the rallies, and parts of the establishment, like President Karen Fann, the President of the Senate, and others came to the assistance of Senator Sonny Barella, Mark Fincham, and others in the grassroots movement. Ducey's nowhere, he's AWOL. And by the way, when this vote starts today, this seals the end of his political career, right? He's got great fantasies of, going to the White House or everything. It's all a fantasy. So we're going to go through. The reason I wanted you in here today.
Let me give you a little preview here, just in the next segment when we walk through this, apropos of your comment about the machines. In the chart I'm going to show you, there's no whiff of any of the machines.
Yep.
Okay? And I'm going to show you that there's 24 times the victory margin that Biden had of possible illegal votes across more than 10 different categories. Ghost votes. So I'll show you that. But that's, that margin is so thin.
Let me do one thing right here. Before we go to break, I'm going to say there's two things that have to be dealt with. And until they're dealt with,
genius,
we can't.
This is genius.
Thank you.
This is Bannon genius. Write this down for history. On this day of our Lord. Actually, it was yesterday.
I've done it a couple weeks ago. I've been doing it a couple weeks ago.
Okay, go.
But there's two things. Wuhan lab, really in December of 2019, that lab, and in 20. Okay, what happened there? That's the railhead of all the CCP virus problems now throughout the world. Okay, raging. And 3 November of the year of our Lord 2020. Those things separate about a year in time until we get to the facts of both of those.
The
bottom line, until they're fully vetted and people then see what the reality, data-based, evidence-based, science-based, okay, CNN, MSNBC, because you've turned this kind of into a theology. Remember, Rachel, the reason you got trouble looking in your eyes, this is all baseless. It's all baseless. It's all a fantasy. It's all the big lie. Well, Rachel Maddow, the folks at MSNBC, yes, we have the physical ballots. And it's not a bunch of crazies, a bunch of very straightforward Americans and professionals and volunteers, all going to get done starting today in Arizona. We're going to return with Dr. Peter Navarro, going to walk through what people are actually looking for. Next, in the War Room.
Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end what they do wrong.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Employees, retirees, and their families can get these life-changing hearing aids at no cost.
Holy heck!
And you don't need to visit a doctor to get them. They ship right to your home and come with lifetime remote support. Convenient, right?
Heck yeah! Heck yeah! Heck yeah!
If you're active or retired U.S. military or a registered healthcare worker, you may be eligible for a 20% discount on Eargo Neo Hi-Fi. And if you're an active or retired federal employee, you can now get Eargo at no cost to you. Act now.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. We're in the War Room. It's the Saturday the 24th. We've got a special here. In fact, we're going to have actually a live report that we've postponed until next week because we've got Dr. Navarro here. We're going to have it on organ harvesting in the CCP in mainland China. We have a doctor that's done a number of them that's come forward. We're going to have a video. We're going to have some of his people that are in Hanoi that have had to flee, a whole apparatus. We're also going to be doing a lot on Taiwan in this coming week, particularly about the defense of Taiwan and advanced chip design, how the American economy is inextricably linked to our chip capacity in Taiwan. Maybe we have Dr. Navarro comment on that briefly before the end of the show. Okay, so Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell's been a critical part of the entire Arizona operation in support of Arizona. If you want to support Lindell, want to support MyPillow, want to support War Room, go to mypillow.com right now and type in promo code War Room to get all the discounts on all the great things, including Giza sheets, 2 for 1 while the sale goes on, and also 40% off the slippers. Mike Lindell's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel on Wednesday, and we're going to do kind of a special working up to that. Hopefully it'll be Wednesday right before he goes on stage, if we can work all this out about where he's physically going to be and how they're going to try to pull it off. So we're going to do that in support of Mike Lindell. So I want to go to, and Mike takes a very different, really a look in his film, Absolute Interference. I mean, he gets to the same point today. The Chinese Communist Party interfered with it. God bless them. Look, we know that they've interfered in everything in American life, right? Every aspect, every cultural institution. However, our theory of the case with Dr. Navarro is, look, we think machines ought to be out of politics, ought to be accounting. In the aspect of actually, getting to the machines and about their involvement in this, and within Antrim County, Michigan, in Georgia, now in Arizona, this audit, that's for experts and professionals to get into, and it's being argued in court with billion-dollar lawsuits all over the place, and now countersuits, and now new lawsuits, so that's all going to be worked out. But what I admire about Dr. Peter Navarro, and the one thing you got to know about Navarro, when he sees a problem, he runs to the gunfire and the fire of the guns, but he does it in an analytical way. So you see all this chirping by Tony Fauci and these guys, science-based, evidence-based. Well, coming out of HBS, Harvard Business School, working at Goldman Sachs in the merger department, you're trained, you got to get to the math of something. Get to the math first, and the whole story will reveal itself, right? Because math and evidence and facts are immutable. Now, you can interpret them differently, but get to the facts. And Dr. Navarro, getting his PhD at Harvard, is really the guy, whether it was the China shock on the factories, whether it was immigration, these reports he would do all the time to back it up, and to back up the arguments in the White House, whether it was trade, whether it was the border, everything. Dr. Navarro came at it with a set of mathematics. And they go, oh, he's a bizarre guy. He's this, he's that. He used to be a Democrat. But I said, hey, that's fine. He may be all those things and more. But he comes with numbers that nobody, and here's why I always take in an argument. When they start attacking people personally and want to avoid talking about the man, it's like Fauci thing. Fauci also want to go high and then say, Ron Johnson's off or all this is wrong, but never want to actually get to the receipts. Dr. Navarro goes right for the seat. So I like to put up in Arizona. So here's what we want to do now. Give a tutorial about what, and Rachel Maddow's team and Chinese intelligence, all of you guys can take a look at. Here's what we believe in the forensic audit, the types of things that could be revealed or may be revealed, or the types of things where Peter Navarro went through and did analytics on publicly available information coming from the Secretary of State in Arizona and others. And let's get this chart up here. We can put that up on the live stream, the Arizona chart. And I would like Dr. Navarro you have a number of possible illegal votes. If you go Arizona, can we get that up? Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so all right, so here's the overview here.
And for our podcast audience and radio audience, we're going to walk
you through this. So my thing was, okay, what's happening with this election? I did a deep dive on this and I identified 6 different types of election irregularities across the 6 battleground states, including Arizona, where this election was won and lost, right? And the big categories were outright voter fraud, ballot mishandling, contestable process files, equal protection clause violations, and some other things. And what I found was that in virtually every one of these states, virtually every one of these things was applicable. Now, to the chart here, let me walk you through this. First important number is the Biden alleged victory margin. That's about 10,000 votes. Second important number, it's third from the bottom, is the possible illegal votes based on these different categories I'm going to walk you through.
So just walking up, because you guys, for the podcast, at the bottom number, the next to bottom number is 10,457. That is the Biden,
the alleged Biden victory margin.
In quotes, victory margin, right?
And then the possible illegal votes my investigation uncovered was 254,722. So that's 24 times.
Right.
The alleged Biden victory margin. So there's a lot of possible slack in that system, and that's what these forensic folks are going to be looking for as they count the ballots in Maricopa County. Now, how did I get to that overall number of illegal votes.
Yep.
And here's the thing, go a little Tolstoy on you, Steve. This is like happy families are all alike, unhappy families are different in their own way, right?
Yep.
It was the same with each of the 6 battleground states. Everyone is like fingerprints. Each one had their own profile. Georgia was the consent decree. Here in Arizona, okay, so you had
ICs in Wisconsin, consent decree in Georgia, here the good old-fashioned way in Arizona.
Exactly. So top of the chart, first category, absentee ballots cast from addresses other than where voters legally reside. Okay? That's
19,997.
Correct.
This is where they're talking about doing some potential recanvassing.
Yes, this is huge. Right there. Right there alone, it's enough.
Victory.
Yes. Okay. All right. Next category. Absentee ballots cast that were turned on or before the postmark date. Now, see, that's kind of interesting. That's like pure fraud. Like, if these things were turned before the postmark date, you know that there's Democratic operatives in there. Okay.
22,900.
22,900.
Okay.
Double vote is a very small category, but, it's like I'm a Cali guy, right? Lived in Laguna Beach for years, Orange County, and we referred to the folks that would come over in July as the zonies, right? They're fleeing 120 degrees in Tucson. But a small category there, just 157. Now here's the category.
Are you implying that doesn't class the place up? Such a snob. Cambridge, Harvard, and Laguna Beach.
Laguna Beach laid down for every one of those touristas, dude, man.
I resemble that comment.
The residents hated it.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's there's a category called ghost voters.
Yep.
Okay.
5,700.
Yeah, this is huge, and I'll give you a historical marker for this. A ghost voter is a ballot that comes in from somebody at that address who doesn't live there, right? That's here's the historical marker, Rachel Maddow. Yes, the 1960 presidential election was stolen from Richard Nixon by Mayor Richard Daley. For John F. Kennedy.
Actually, for Joe Kennedy, but the recipient was Jack Kennedy.
But here's the punchline. Daley did it with dead voters and ghost voters. Okay? 33,000 in the Chicago area.
Ghosts is huge.
Yeah. So there's just 5,700
to give you signal, not noise. When they went in and for the TRO, one of the things they argued is that this is going to break the privacy of people. People are exposed. The categories they're talking about is the first category: absentee ballots cast from addresses other than where you live, and ghost voters. Those two right off the bat. They're arguing, and that's going to take some potential recanvassing, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that's what's beautiful. It's like for your audience, it's really important to understand here that what they're doing in Arizona is not simply recounting the ballots. No.
Audit.
No.
Forensic.
They're auditing.
Forensic audit.
Steve Bannon voted from this address. Go to that address and see if Steve Bannon's voting from that address.
Forensic audit.
All right. The next one's a big category.
Huge.
Mail-in ballots cast by voters registered after the registration deadline. Okay. Now, here's the thing. It's like I think there's this attitude around, particularly among the Democrats. It's like, rules are, they're kind of like.
There are no rules.
There are no rules. So what? I mean, it's like.
But the problem is the gutless Republicans that don't stand up and stand firm on this.
I mean, you either have rules or you don't. You have the rule of law.
This is why Mark Fincham's running for Secretary of State. Remember, you have a Democrat. I think Katie Hobbs is the Secretary of State there. Why was this not a bigger deal during the fight between November?
So politically, the problem we had with Arizona was the McCain-Trump schism. Okay, let's be honest about this. The Republican mafia in Arizona.
You mean Mrs. McCain, who wants to be ambassador to London in the Biden administration? That's a schism.
Yeah, there'll be
They want Trump out. Ducey wants him out.
The thing that bothers me about the swamp is that these personal vendettas override anything about the
I don't mind.
greater good of the
I don't mind a
country.
personal vendetta as long as we're the vendetta brothers. I don't mind vendettas. What are you talking about? I got a couple of three.
Let's keep going. Good.
Hold on. Let's take it. Okay, we're gonna take a
break.
short
We're halfway through Arizona.
Hang on. We are gonna go to Georgia, right? We got Ben Bergquam. We're gonna come back. To keep your.
By the way, in Georgia, just as a preview, it's twice the amount.
We're gonna put that up
in terms of a margin.
Okay.
That one was
short commercial break. We're gonna go Ben Bergquam live, and then we're gonna have Peter Navarro finish up Arizona and talk about Georgia. Georgia, we got the receipts too. Georgia's next. People should understand. Georgia, we're the full forensic audit. That's the only thing that's going to get to the bottom of November 3rd. You got to heal that wound first, and the Democrats, Joe Biden's team, ought to be coming together to work with us on this. Because you know why, Joe? Rachel Maddow said it. It crossed her lips. Illegitimate. Right? That's what they're nervous about.
I'm ready for the Rachel Maddow show, by the way.
You were born.
Please invite me.
You were born ready, brother. Okay, short commercial break. Back to Georgia. Ben Bergquam, Real America's Voice, in the War Room next.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Regulates your body temperature for you as an individual. It comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry the cover. It's made in the USA, and I back it with my 60-day money-back guarantee.
My Pillow Topper delivers on its promise to give me a better night's sleep.
Call now to get your very own MyPillow mattress topper. Use the promo code and Mike will give you 30% off and 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free. Order now.
I personally guarantee it's going to change your bed into the most comfortable bed you'll ever own.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, now we're getting into the receipts on November 3rd. We got to sort that out, and we are going to sort that out. And we're never backing off this. People know that, and the patriots out there are you guys are doing an amazing job. We're also going to get to the bottom, and we're getting closer. We're going to get to the bottom of Wuhan Lab and what happened there. You can't solve either one until you solve the issues related to what happened at those time periods on November 3rd, leading up to it too, and in Wuhan Lab, and we're going to get to it.
Let me say one thing about the dates. Because the virus for me, the date there is November 3 for the election. You know what the date for me is for the virus? It's January 15.
Oh, but that's good.
2020. Because that's when they declared, the Chinese Communist Party effectively declared war on this country. Because they came here and didn't tell us about any of that stuff. Anyway.
No, hang on. In the East Room, that was like
that was like a big deal.
It's like the Japanese being there with Cordell Hall.
Yes.
On the morning of, they were over at the State Department at around noon or 1 o'clock on December 7th, 1941, working on basing an agreement, right, that would get off the sanctions we had put on oil, right? At the same time that their bombers are going, their attack forces going, at dawn they slept, right? Went across, I think, at 7:55 a.m. Into Pearl Harbor. The East Room, you had this huge ceremony. And they knew at the time, by the way, the day before, Tedros and the World Health Organization tweeted out, Chinese officials, medical officials told us no human-to-human transmission and no community spread in Wuhan. A bald-faced lie that exacerbated. Whether they let this out on purpose or whether it inadvertently leaked out, that's a topic for a different day. We know it's man-made. It's not human-made. But Peter Navarro went through how they exacerbated, that. So we're going to get to that in a minute. By the way, because of that, whether you think it's a bioweapon or you think this is a total hoax, we have learned one thing we know for a fact over the last year. It's incumbent upon everybody in the world, particularly here in the United States. You haven't been out getting your exercise, haven't been outside. You got to boost your immune system. You have to take responsibility of this else. Go to wormdefense.com. You get the vitamin D3 and the zinc. It's free. You got to pay shipping and handling, but you got brochures and other information about boosting your immune system and other aspects of that. WarmDefense.com today. Remember, the work on oneself begins with oneself. This whole show is about human agency. Action, action, action. Take action today. Go to WarmDefense.com. I want to pivot back. So we bumped back Ben Bergquam. I want to thank Denver. We've pushed Ben back a little bit. Since we have some time, we're not rushed today. We've got not a normal hectic schedule because this requires a drill down. There's a historic operation going on in Arizona because of Patriots. And Patriots, all the Grundoons, all the hobbits, all the deplorables, understand one thing. Back at the railhead of the misinformation campaign of the progressive left, Rachel Maddow, okay, the den mother, because she's the big brain, okay? Last night, that look of worry in her eyes, right? They knew that they went to court. A judge wouldn't stop them.
The great inoculator.
The great inoculator. They're trying to get ahead of the story, and she didn't even know where to go. Here's the beauty of it, ladies and gentlemen. MSNBC, with all the resources, did not have a package ready to go. Did not have a package ready to go. She gave a 2-minute, you could tell. She's just up there, no script, just throwing stuff out, right? And they're worried. And she goes, they're going to use this in the future. You were damn right. Write that down, because we're going to have the receipts.
There's no inoculation against what we're doing right here.
You can't inoculate against truth.
This is truth.
You can't inoculate against
fact.
truth. You can't.
This is science. This is data.
This is evidence-based, database, science-based. MSNBC. Okay, I want to go back to the chart.
Let's pick up. Let me do a quick summary where we're at. So
can we get the chart back up, Denver?
Denver, if you can.
And for our podcast and radio audience, we're going to go back. Make sure you got the numbers.
So we're halfway through this chart, but the punchline of this chart is that we've got a Biden victory margin alleged in Arizona of about 10,000 votes. We've got a possible illegal vote count 24 times that at around 250,000. And what we're walking you through is the different categories that I found in my investigation. So absentee ballots cast from addresses other than where voters legally reside. I showed you that was like 15,000 or so. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is finish up the chart because there's a couple of categories here. Non-citizen voters, right, just jumps right out at you. That's 36,473. In other words, 3 times that of the Biden victory margin. 3 times.
If you just get that. It's over.
And again,
they know that.
What's important out in Arizona is they're not just doing a recount. No, it's a forensic audit. It's a full
forensic audit.
So if somebody voted from a certain address, they go and verify that person. And the non-citizen voters are going to be the easiest ones probably to get. By the way, Arizona is not a sanctuary state. So that will allow people to check papers there. If you go next door to California or you go to Texas, sanctuary cities abound in both of those.
Big.
Okay.
Yep.
Overvotes.
No. You missed one. Out of state.
Out of state. Oh,
this is the one that gets me. I wanted. I tell you, this gets all over me.
Yeah.
Because this is what they do.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain what this is. Out of state voters who vote in state.
Yeah.
5,700.
5,700. Right. And then you got the overvotes. That's like, wow, more people voted than were registered.
Yep.
What? What's going on there? So the point is that when you look at the receipts, right, there's really good reason to have deep suspicions because this isn't like outright fraud, one vector. It's like there's no silver bullet here, Steve. Okay, it's death by 1,000 election irregularities, and each state is different. Each state has its own fingerprint. And in Georgia, it was the consent decree where we had a flood of ballots.
But we're going to get to Georgia second. But hang on, I want to go back to this. This is why there is no. And I realize a lot of the deplorable saying if there are machines, I'm never going to vote. So we got to deal with the machines separately. But
there's no, by the way, no machines.
No,
on
this is not.
No machines.
There's no server in Germany on this page. Okay, this is all just go back to the basics.
Straight ghost voters.
But I will tell you that to me makes it even more outrageous. This is why the established order has to understand, and this is the difference in the two mantras. Their mantras is that count all votes. Our mantra is count all legal, certifiable, chain of custody, right? Votes of American citizens in the right place, in the right time, in the right registration. To be an American citizen, and it has to be in accordance with pre-established rules, right? And that's what this shows. And what this, to me, is an indictment of, and you're going to see some people sweating. Let me say this. There are going to be an awful lot of people out there that are not going to be the allies of the patriots, and even Democrats are concerned about this. When this starts coming to light, write this down. You're going to be attacked as racist and nativist and xenophobic. You're going to. They already argued in court, which the judge kind of dismissed, about this is going to reveal people's identity and take away the secret ballot, which is all nonsense. But you got to find out who vote. If they are they registered in the state, right? Are they registered at that address? There's all types of things for the mail-in ballots. There's all types of things that you have to get to the bottom of. That's why this is not a recount. This is a full-on hand forensic audit, okay? And that's why this is so historic and it's such a massive logistics problem. 2.1 million ballots in 40 days starting today.
It's really important historically to do this because it's going to be like the microcosm of the macrocosm of our election system, right?
Yes.
And so, if you look at that many votes and you see systemic. That's kind of the word du jour of the year, right? If you see systemic election irregularities, which point in the direction of one party versus another, what you have is essentially a strategic gaming of American democracy for partisan reasons, right? Now think about this, Steve, just from a statistician's point of view.
Yep.
If you go in and do your forensic audit here, you do your canvas, there's two possibilities. One, statistically, okay, well, there's slack in the system, but it's agnostic with respect to party.
Yep.
Okay, and it is like, okay, they go in and they find 50,000 votes that are weird, right? But it's like spread across party registration things like in a way where it had no impact. But the alternative statistical possibility is that it's all skewed towards one party.
Yep.
In this case, it would be Biden and the Democrats. What that's going to do, that'll be a wake-up call for America, right? It's like, okay, we cannot tolerate either party engaging in strategic gaming of our election system. And that's a revolution right there.
Well, you just go to here. Also, remember, we started doing the Transition Integrity Project, which was Perkins Coie thing. They were up front, and this is what Molly Ball.
Explain to people who Perkins Coie is.
Well, Perkins Coie is a Mark Elias, and his boss they're the brains of the operation on these fighting of elections. These are the guys that fought, got Coleman out. They represent Democrats and progressive causes, and they thought this whole thing through. They came up with
back to the Steele dossier, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. So they were part of the Steele dossier also. But I think that's a sidelight. Their key thing is election, they call it election integrity. Basically,
Perkins Coie, a Democrat-funded firm whose mission is to game the election process.
And they're tough hombres. They came out and said beforehand, they put out, talk about inoculation. They came out with a report that came out in July of 2020. Raheem and I did a national, Bill McGinley at Holtzman Vogel, and Raheem and myself did a whole analysis. They said, hey, Trump's going to win on Election Day, but this is the red mirage. Don't panic at 10 o'clock at night when we Democrats are losing everywhere, because when we count all the votes, you notice they never said all the legal certifiable votes. When we count all the votes, and all votes must be counted. They never say all legal votes. They never say all certifiable votes. They never say all chain of custody votes. When you count all the votes, they said in about 10 days to 2 weeks, Joe Biden, before Thanksgiving, Joe Biden will be declared president of the United States. It worked exactly like they laid it out to inoculate.
If I may, it didn't work exactly. Yes. It wasn't 2 weeks. It was overnight with a lot of those vote surges.
Well, the surges were overnight, but then they get into the whole thing of counting. Consolidated, yes. Yeah. Here's the thing right here. You see in your two categories, the absentee ballots cast that were returned on or before the postmark date, always a problem. The 22,900, so 23,000 there with the 150 mail-in. That's 175,000.
That has signs of ballot harvesting, which is another problem in and of itself.
You think?
Yeah.
Ballot harvesting gets to all of it.
Yeah.
Amazing work in Arizona. The history starts today, because the day they actually start, you're going to see, we're going to have the live screen. By the way, you've got the president put a statement out. You've got 24-hour, 7-day a week to cut this on and watch it. It's going to be live stream. I think they got, 8 different camera settings. So you'll be able to watch it to your heart's content. The world will be watching it. It's an historic effort underway. 1,000% by this audience and the patriots in this audience, and a hat tip to the working men and women of Arizona that really did this. And it's been incredible. We're just starting this journey. Hey, it's going to get rough, okay? Every day you're going to get closer over the target. You're going to be called racist, nativist. I believe you're going to have Antifa, BLM. All of it's going to come. We're going to cover every second of it. And we got to do it, because Rachel's concerned, right? She's concerned. Chris Hayes is concerned. They're all concerned.
Give me a call, Rachel. I'm ready.
Hey,
your producer call me.
By the way, we'll take
not adversarial. We'll just talk about it. She's a smart lady.
Smart. Stanford smart. Okay. Short commercial break. Back in a second.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Non-invasive option for management of moderate to severe urinary incontinence. It can also reduce trips to the bathroom, which is a known cause of nighttime falls. Now, nighttime falls can be one less thing to lose sleep over.
Medicare now covers the PureWick female external catheter. Call 800-549-5243 today to see if you qualify for Medicare reimbursement. That's 800-549-5243.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Make sure you go to mypillow.com today. Type in promo code War Room. Support the Patriots. Mike Lindell. The great Minnesota company, MyPillow. And, of course, the War Room, the Patriots in the War Room. Go there today, do some shopping. But use your promo code War Room, up to 66% discounts. We're still having some difficulty trying to get Ben Bergquam. He's starting a national tour, Real America's Voice, sending him from Georgia to the Rio Grande Valley, the capital of the Rio Grande Valley. That would be McAllen, Texas. He's going to go there. And Ben's done great reporting in Georgia, great reporting on the Rio Grande Valley, and great reporting in Arizona. I mean, one of the reasons we're here today is because of the posse at Real America's Voice and Ben Bergquam, all the early reporting they did day in and day out. Okay, until we get Ben up, I do want to pivot. I want to go to Georgia, the state of Georgia, because remember, folks, you got Vernon Jones running down there for the governorship in a primary against Kemp, but he's really running against Stacey Abrams. You've got this voter law that's so controversial, the woke capital, and Stacey Abrams gave, Senator Kennedy challenged her the other day about the racism, and she gave her 10 things. And Kennedy, he didn't want trying to cut her off. He's trying to move on. I think those 10 things have to be addressed. I think Vernon Jones has to address those. I think Stacey Abrams, who, look, whether you like her politics or not, she's a grinder. And she has done, for her side, has done a good job, right? That's the reason we don't have these senators. And the president didn't officially, why it was designated on the 6th, have Georgia. Now, we have the receipts here, and quite frankly, there's even a little out of here, which I'll get to with the Michael Patrick Leahy and all that. But let's get up Georgia, and now we're going to have Dr. Peter Navarro talk about the voter irregularities, the thievery, and the illegalities. Dr. Navarro.
And let me set the stage here by saying that in Georgia, the root of all evil there was this thing they call a consent decree, that was done behind closed doors without the knowledge of the state legislature or the public or anybody else. It was a backroom deal cut between Stacey Abrams and Republican Governor and Secretary of State Kemp Raffensperger. Okay, now why does that matter? It fits into the overall strategy, which was to basically stuff the ballot box with absentee and mail-in ballots. Yep. And then at the same time reduce the level of scrutiny of those ballots, right? Yeah. So if we go to the chart now, start at the bottom. In Arizona, we had 24 times the amount of illegal votes relative to the victory margin. In Georgia, it's 51 times, Steve. The Biden won by only 11,779 votes, okay? What we've got in a possible illegal votes identified by data investigation is 600,000. Okay, so what are some of the categories? First of all, one of the biggest categories right at the top of the chart, 305,000 votes, absentee ballots cast that were requested before or after the statutory deadline. And that was like a pure kind of ballot harvesting kind of operation that the Dems ran. Rules are rules, laws are laws. They broke them. okay? Our old familiar category of dead voters, about 10,000 of those. Double voters in state, and there's people who voted, same people who voted from two different places. Small number there, 395. Interestingly enough, Steve, in some states, it's legal to vote as a felon, okay? The states have kind of changed the law so that it's okay for felons to vote, but other states it's not. Felon voters here, we got about 2,500 felons voting. My favorite category, of course, we come back to the ghost voters. The ghost voters in and of themselves, Steve, are bigger than the Biden victory margin.
Yep.
They're 15,700. Interestingly enough, in Georgia, and this is again a symptom of the Democrat operation trying to game the system, they may have registered as many as 66,000 voters who were under the age of 18 years old, where in order to be a legal voter, you got to be 18, right? No address on file, another 1,000. Non-registered voters, interestingly enough, there was 2,400 of those. And then Steve's favorite category, the out-of-state voters who voted in-state. That's like 20,000 in this case. So that's like a big recruitment operation, probably done through social media. We've got a category here of voting machine irregularities, but it's not kind of the kind that people usually talk about. It's just there's like this issue of manufactured ballots. Now the
county down there,
let me tell you the story. This is the one.
Yep.
This is the one. There's two of these.
Okay.
The State Farm Arena in Atlanta,
Yep.
Georgia. This is the one where they faked a water leak
Yep.
in a bathroom.
Yep.
Around midnight to clear out all of the Republican observers, right? And on videotape, in flagrante delicto, they had a number of Georgia election officials pull out boxes, suitcases, whatever you want to call them, full of ballots that they then ran and quickly counted, not once, according to the video, but they counted them more than once. Okay, these were it's the closest thing. Okay. I mean, it's faked out. There's 136,000 of those. That incident alone.
Yeah, there is a county in Georgia where it's in the court system with the guy that's been the voter thing. Now, the left will tell you that what Peter Navarro just said, that they have, and Raffensperger, Secretary of State, will say everything Navarro just said about those manufactured ballots and what happened, thing is all nonsense, and they can prove it by their own video. Here's my point: is that this is why we need in Georgia exactly what's going on in Arizona. And this is what Rachel Maddow, that troubled look in her eyes, she knows we're there next. She knows we're going to be. She knows that as soon as Arizona finishes, that Georgia is going to be next. Here's the reason. This number up here, Michael Patrick Leahy. Remember, there's still 400,000 mail-in ballots that have not been certified, not been really turned over with the certifications turned over. Right? It's turned every day. Let's hold on. We'll come back. We still haven't gotten to Wuhan or to the new global order or anything with China. We're still drilling down on November 3rd, as we have to here. Somebody's got to do the nitty-gritty. That's the War Room. Dr. Peter Navarro will return in a moment. We're trying to get this Georgia situation worked out and get Ben Bergquam on live. Be back in a second.
And you are over, 'cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the...
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the U.S.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't, and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, now closing in to close to 50 million. We're closing on the 50 million downloads on the podcast. We're live everywhere. I want to thank Real America's Voice for getting us up here today, Saturday, the 24th of April, the year of our Lord 2021, almost through the whole month of April. And, of course, we're focused on Arizona, on this historic effort of a hand forensic audit that has a complete left from the smart people on the left, from the Guardian newspaper to Rachel Maddow in Vapor Lock. By the way, I love the way that I trigger the War Room posse when I give a shout out to Stacey Abrams. Hey, I'm about victory. When you show me somebody on our side of stuff as tough as Stacey Abrams, War Room posse, please give me a name. Okay, please give me a name. Okay? Donald Trump's not on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as a re-elected president with all the plans and programs they had, the confrontation of China, everything, finishing the wall. In Georgia, you just saw that. Peter Navarro walked through 601,000 votes. That's what she delivered. Okay? So we're going to do it legally, but I want to see somebody as tough, and nobody stood up to her. They cratered. The consent decree, they were too cowardly to even put it out and to tell the state legislature. They didn't even cancel the consent decree after the November 3rd election. That's how afraid they are of her. Okay? That's how afraid they are of her. This is why you don't have two senators, because nobody would stand with President Trump down in Georgia. Mitch McConnell's a total lie about Trump telling not people to go out there. What they wanted was people to step up to the plate and call it out. And that's what the deplorables needed to see, and they didn't have that of either Senate candidate or Mitch McConnell. And they raised, it was $700 million spent from November 3rd to the voting date in December, right in January, spent by both sides. And they ran this thing about no socialism and all this crap from the RNC and all this crap from Mitch McConnell. And we ought to find out how much money that Baker and all these guys made, how much they put in their own pockets, find out how much of your money, your donations, they put in their pockets not to win.
Karl Rove.
Karl Rove. This is the scum. Rove scum. By the way, Rove, great job on Bush's book. Nobody cares. Bush comes out, I'm so sorry for calling the MAGA movement nativist. No, you're not sorry. You're not sorry. Well, we know what you guys say behind the scenes. Listen, here's what you should do. Go clean the blood off your hands for Iraq. Okay, and for the failure you had in Afghanistan. Clean the blood off your hands. And by the way, for 9/11, that happened on your watch. Okay, in the military I was involved in, when you relieve the watch, it's on you, dude. It's on you. It was 9 months into your presidency, Karl Rove. All the scum associated. You guys are nothing but scum. Okay, I detest you guys. And to sit here and call the MAGA movement nativist. Okay. We're going to pivot. We're going to get Ben Bergquam now down in Georgia. Ben, you're about to start a nationwide tour. You got the one and only Jeremy Harrell there with you, too, the legendary. Tell us what's going on. What mischief are you guys up to?
Hey, we're just getting started. And actually, Steve, we haven't invited you yet, but at any point along the way that you want to join us, you are welcome to join us on this bus. We're starting here in Atlanta, Georgia, talking about elections. I was actually in Maricopa the day of the election. I was there for 9 days afterwards following that with Boris Epshteyn. And it was just, seeing it firsthand was incredible. I ended up coming out here to Georgia, seeing the fraud, the evidence of fraud out here, went back to Nevada. So we were all over the place during that, and we're going to continue to follow that. I'll be back in Arizona probably in a couple weeks. But right now, we are launching from Atlanta, Georgia, here at the Star Cafe. We're taking America's voice. We're really going to go and get America's voice. We're going to go and talk to folks on the ground, what matters to them. We're going to hit heavy here in Georgia on election and election fraud. And then ultimately on this first leg, we're going to end up in McAllen, Texas on Wednesday for a special with Border Patrol, with Angel Moms, with locals that have been affected by illegal immigration. It's going to be an incredible, incredible trip.
Well, we're going to turn over as much as our Wednesday broadcast as we can to make sure we cover this. This is another historic move by Ben Bergquam, who's covered this story, like he said, from the first days in Arizona, that now leads to this historic forensic audit, to all the situation in Georgia. He was there for the whole runoff. He's seen it up close and personal. Now back. You're reporting, Ben, I got to tell you, and I hear this from people all over the world that watch this show, and particularly the diaspora of China when they talk about the sovereignty of our country. Because we know Chinese intelligence watches this closely. Your reporting from the border has been, I think, the best reporting out there of anybody. It's been absolutely incredible. So hat tip, and I can't wait till you get to McAllen down there with all the customs and border folks, the Angel Moms, all the great patriots. And we want as many Democrats down there, working class Democrats, Hispanic Democrats, to turn out also, because we're your biggest supporter, and you guys actually are MAGA and part of this MAGA movement. So tell us what are the stops? You're leaving Georgia today. You're going to have some other stops around Georgia before you get down to the border to Texas.
Yep, I'll let Jeremy jump in on that one. So Jeremy's actually sponsoring the bus part of this. If you guys don't know, JeremyHarrell.com did the Build the Wall song. Amazing patriot. So, Jeremy, where are we heading?
Yeah, so we're going to start here in Georgia, and we're going to make stops along the way. We're going to be stopping in Louisiana, Alabama, on our way to Texas. We got, patriots in each one of these states that are waiting to have their voice heard. That's the biggest problem right now, is that people are not getting their voice heard. And when they do get their voice heard, it's switched, it's mixed up, it fits a narrative that's not coming from their heart, and that is exactly what me and Ben wanted to change. We wanted to get what people were really talking about. Matter of fact, on my way here this morning from the hotel, got into a nice Uber drive with a fellow who's 60 years old. He's retired with his wife down here, and he says President Trump will be back before August. And I said, well, what? He just came right out and said that. He must have seen the hat or something. I said, what are you talking about? I mean, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, but what are you talking about? And he goes, everybody knows it was stolen. He goes, the world knows it was stolen. And he was a black fella, and he goes, and the biggest problem is that he goes that people have been lied to. He goes, black folk down here have been lied to for so long by the Democratic Party. And I'm just letting him go. I'm just like, this is my part where I just shut up. And he is, everything you say every day, he must watch your show, Steve. He must watch the War Room.
Everybody does.
He must watch the War Room. I know I have it on, but yeah. So we're gonna hit all these states. We're gonna try to just jump off the bus and get real America's voice and their opinion the entire way.
What Jeremy just said is very important for our audience to understand the posse right now, because this show is shown all over the world. The world knows this thing was stolen. Okay? That's why there's been no cooperation with the Democrats, and that's the worried look that Rachel Maddow gets, and she understands where this is heading, right? That's the worried look she had last night, kind of this, flipping her, this kind of very frustrated that this was taking place. Jeremy and Ben, how do people, number one, we'll put up where the locations are, but how do people follow you during the day? People that are not going to be in Louisiana, not going to be in Alabama, not in Georgia, not down in McAllen, that want to get a bird's eye view for what America's talking about, and how they understand something's not right here. We got to get to the bottom of it, and particularly this. And we're now gone from a border crisis to a border emergency. Now they say, hey, climate crisis to climate emergency. We got an emergency about our sovereignty down on that border. How can people follow you 24/7? Do you have a live stream? Is it tweeting? Give us your social media. Give us all the coordinates now.
We're going to be heading, Real America's Voice, we're going to be doing lives throughout all the shows, Monday, Tuesday, leading up to Wednesday. I'll be doing my podcast, FrontlineAmerica.com. I'll be posting a lot on social media there. And then, Jeremy, you'll be on...
I'll be. You can always visit Jeremy Harrell. That's HERRELL.com. All lives, every. You can find me on YouTube, Live from America. That's the show, Live from America, that I do twice a day, 5 days a week. Kind of like you, Bannon. I don't have the gas that you got, but I'm trying to. I'm working up to that. But you can find me at JeremyHarrell.com and Live from America across social media.
It's going to be epic, guys.
Okay, we'll have you.
Don't want to miss it.
Okay, yeah, we're going to have you guys back on Monday. We'll kick off the show with you guys. Okay, that is Ben Bergquam, the one and only from Real America's Voice, and Jeremy Harrell. They're starting a tour from Atlanta, Georgia. And by the way, tell the folks down in Atlanta that we're heading there to make sure that we get a full forensic audit of all of it, guys. Really appreciate it, and great luck. Look forward to
we have a crowd building over here. We'll let them know we're going to get the full forensic audit that they're doing in Arizona now down here. What do you guys think of that? All right, guys. All right. What do you think of Steve Bannon?
Hold it. Ask what do they think of Dr. Peter Navarro?
Who?
Oh, what did they think of Dr. Peter Navarro? By the way, I love you, Dr. Peter Navarro. Navarro!
Hey, hold on. One more thing. What do you all think of Dr. Fauci?
We love you guys. Go Georgia.
Dude knows how to troll the chat room.
How about them dogs? We'll see you on Monday, guys. Good luck.
All right, God bless you. God bless.
You were a little nervous there, but Navarro. Everybody knows you. What are you talking about? You're an American hero.
I remember one time the boss tried that at a rally. You know, it was like there was like a gap of about a second where my heart dropped, but then it came through.
In certain of those sort of situations, it's maybe better not to have. Just saying.
I hear you.
Hey, there are no co-stars.
Yeah.
Georgia, Arizona. Historic, starting today, going kind of down your roadmap. I think Georgia, as bad as it is in Arizona, and we have to get to it, the Patriots doing it out there.
Georgia's a cesspool.
Georgia's a cesspool. And here's a cesspool because the establishment down there, and by the way, we're getting reports that there's a lot of fighting on the precinctstrategy.com that, for the people showing up last week and taking back, for the MAGA movement, taking back the apparatus of these conferences, these precincts, and for this convention. There's a lot of blowback. We're going to get into that next week. But the reason it's a cesspool, these were all Republican. They didn't have, at least in Arizona, that you can say, hey, Katie Hobbs is a Democrat, right? The Secretary of State, Finchem's going to run against her. But in Georgia, it's all Republican at the apparatus, and they blew.
Kemp and Raffensperger should go down in history in America as Benedict Arnold's. From a partisan point of view.
That's pretty harsh. Why do you say that?
They signed that consent decree with Stacey Abrams, which basically allowed the election to be stolen. That's harsh, okay, but that's true.
Yep.
And more importantly, Steve, they not only signed that deal, they hid it, okay? They hid it. They hid it from the people of Georgia. They hid it from the Republican National Committee. They hid it from President Trump. They hid it from everybody. Now, why did they do that? I still, there was all talk about how Kemp and Raffensperger were making money from
I don't buy that. It's not that.
I don't buy it either. But it is inexplicable what they did.
No. It's the woke corporations down there. They did not want to be called racist. They did not want to call they were prepared to fold on all of this. And Kowtow,
the Delta Coke,
Coke, and all of it.
I mean, look, you see, like the behavioralism, major league. It's like crazy.
Hang on for a second.
But that consent decree, man, that is the root of all evil in Georgia. Because that allowed. Go ahead.
After it was exposed, they still had it for the special election.
Well, that was
one vote in the House or the Senate to call. They did not call a special session. Too gutless to assist in calling a special session.
I warned people about that. I don't know if you know that. I went on TV and said that election needed to be postponed or we were going to lose. And I blame Mitch McConnell for that because he would not follow through on anything. He wanted to cut everybody loose at that point.
The reason Mitch McConnell, he didn't mind Trump losing Georgia because he thought he was going to hold at least one of those Senate seats and be the most powerful man.
Pure man.
He would have been Joe Manchin, right? He would have been the most powerful man. The deals he would have been cutting to control the swamp.
And don't forget Karl Rove, okay? Karl Rove was the guy running campaign strategy down for those Senate seats. He was saying, he was telling them, get away from Trump. Yep. Right? It was like stupid.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, Carl, you got issues, Carl.
We've got to turn now. Since the audience in Georgia wanted us to focus on Dr. Fauci, we've got to turn now. We're going to turn to our favorite topic. We're going to turn to our favorite topic.
Saint Fauci.
Saint Dr. Tony.
The father of the pandemic.
He is saint. He's speaking at he's kicking off the Vatican conference.
The
Vatican conference. Navarro. I think we're going to start calling him the beatified, the beatifying Dr. Fauci. We're in the war room. Did I trigger you guys enough about Stacey Abrams yet? Okay, we'll take a short commercial break. Be back in a moment.
certain key cities that is worth exposing and finding the truth on. But while we're talking about that, the whole nation has been under a mind siege. There's been a shift in values, a shift in everything. Now, these authors were able to go into corporations and they could find out. Here's the thing I want you to see. Once you get a picture, everything becomes clearer. They go into a company and they say, what is the result that you're getting? Let's say the result is, for a corporation, it's going to be profits. And they're saying, well, your result is you're not making the money you need to make. But why is it that you're being impacted that way? Now, the result could be money. The result could be racism. The result could be corruption. The result could be addictions. The result, whatever the result is, the result comes because of certain decisions that are made. Decisions that are made. What forms the decision? It's the beliefs that are formed. What people believe drives their decision making, and their decision making creates the results. But what they believe is the result of what they experience. Now watch how this works. When you see this, it's like, you get what's going on in America, and you also see how to reverse it. People experience the George Floyd footage of the policeman with a knee on the back of George's neck. They see that 8-minute footage. This agonizing 8 minutes. The belief that they're told is that this is a racial incident motivated by a cop who is a racist. Now, that belief forms a decision. Riots and outrage. We will stop this. We're going to make a statement. Guilty and embarrassed white people surging out their corporations, funding Black Lives Matter. And the result is you have this resurgence of militant, mobilized units on the streets of America that move from protesting to tearing down statues all over the place. And what was going on here? Well, watch. The experiences that you have can be driven by a news cycle. News cycles can be manipulated to produce experiences. The most dangerous part of this pyramid is the belief one, because here's where the glasses are. Whoever is doing the news and whoever is doing the schools is going to control the interpretation of events, so that even history can be rewritten, so that you re-experience your own nation, its own founding, to form beliefs that you're fundamentally flawed and corrupt and need to be dismantled from the roofs all the way to the basement. And then it creates decisions that drive. But here's the point. The results you get are non-negotiable. Your results are attached where? To the beliefs you form. This bit right here is why every totalitarian state, Marxist or otherwise, has to control the media. And that's why programs like this and channels like this are so indispensable to the resistance. It is like a firewall, because when you hear someone tell the truth, for instance, the George Floyd footage did not include the pre-footage of him in terms of him resisting arrest. And it did include the fact that there were African-American black officers working with the white officers. And so the issue really couldn't be framed as racism. It could be framed as police stupidity, police brutality, or police procedure. But certainly it didn't have to be assumed that it was a racist evidence, that cops need to be defunded. That's a wrong belief that led to wrong decisions, with the results, by the way, the crime has gone up into every city where BLM made an impact and Antifa showed up. Crime is up like some 10% in categories like homicide. Why is this important? Because this is culture one. This is the culture that they've created. What these guys in their research found out, Mercedes, is that if you want to change something, and what fascinates me is they were able to find out how to do it with money. If you can measure results, you know your system works. It isn't theoretic. What they found was you have to create a new experience. So when we talk about a great awakening, those of you that want to tie the pieces together, great awakening, oh my God, America needs a revival, a great awakening, we need to turn to God. For those of you that have a faith background, yeah, in history, that's the only thing that's interrupted the course of American history in terms of its ultimate trajectory, is the reviving of values that make us unique. You need a new experience for that to happen. And that new experience will form a new belief. And that new belief will create new decisions. And the new decision will create new results. It's possible that we, within the next 2 years, can create enough momentum to work off of the pain and dismantling of economics and race and cities and culture that the left is accomplishing. If we can do that, we will have culture too. And that means an awakening can happen, and only God can create the new experiences. We have to know what are the beliefs that are true, what are the decisions we need to make, and what are the inevitable results that follow. Donald Trump understood exactly this matrix and had his own beliefs, wouldn't be manipulated, and his decisions promoted global peace, economic revitalization, and a protection of our own borders. We have to move to this, or this scenario is going to prevail. Okay, so now, Mercedes, let's talk about how media manipulates narratives, such as what happened in January with the so-called insurrection.
Sure.
Talk about what we are now finding out about the media lies that took place.
Yeah, well, I just find this really fascinating, and so I just want to make sure I'm even tracking with you. Essentially, in order for a new culture to be created, like let's say like there's traditional America that, you know, I think a lot of our viewers hold close to, you know, it's like God, guns, love of country, patriotism, you know, fiscal responsibility, things like that. And so it's very interesting to me, Lance. So you're saying that in order for something new to be built up, you have to first foundationally create new experiences. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the people are going to interpret, for instance, the news cycle is going to be an experience. Whatever you encounter has to have an interpretation. Your teachers, your parents, your rabbi or your pastor, your authority figures in your life influence how your thinking is shaped, and therefore the beliefs you form are the key to a proper understanding of every experience.
Fascinating. So then let's talk about this. This is a great example, and actually Senator Ron Johnson was asking questions, I think, about this week when it comes to Brian Sicknick, who died right after the Capitol insurrection, quote unquote, and so he asked this question. He says he sent a letter to the U.S. Capitol Police seeking answers. And their claim in a press release on January 7th that Brian Sicknick died due to injuries sustained while on duty. Now, Lance, if you remember, this was actually used in Donald Trump's second impeachment trial. The House Democrat impeachment managers used this false report to claim it in a trial memorandum. But now just came out April 19th, I think is what this says, that he actually died of 2 strokes. It says that the medical examiner found that there was no evidence of internal and external injuries on Officer Sicknick, and that Sicknick had died of natural causes, specifically 2 strokes on January 7th. And that was the D.C. medical examiner, and they announced it on April 19th. So when you talk about twisting a narrative, so here's a brand new experience. You know, we've got people going into the Capitol. We've got Capitol Police dealing with it. And then the U.S. Capitol Police, that put it out very quickly in a statement that it was as a result of the people of injuries he sustained while at the Capitol. But now the medical examiner says there's no evidence of that. And
here's the important thing. They have this stupid fence that's all around Washington purely for theatrics. Why is it that Harris and Biden are wearing their Zorro masks all the time, even when they're with other world rulers? You're going to see it. It's purely because it's kabuki theater. It's a way of creating experience belief so that they can continue their totalitarian takeover of culture. Wow. The reality is the police lied because the news cycle ended up being fed by, and you heard this, it was a fire extinguisher, a blunt object, a metal object, bludgeoning Trump rioters, bludgeon a police officer to death. They hit that narrative. If we had one of those segments right now, we'd be playing them all back to back to back. You know how that is, where they're all they're saying the same thing. They lied, and their whole thing was to create the narrative that there was Trump rioters, and right away 400 preachers denounced Christian nationalism. I don't know why that came up, but it's because the narrative that the left wants to create is that was an insurrection, it was a riot. The actual insurrections and riots killed 77 people. The one that happened in Washington didn't. It had one victim, which was an unarmed white woman who's a former vet, who we still don't know who shot her because they won't explain what happened. And you had 3 or 4 heart attacks and strokes for Trump supporters. That was, and one woman who was crushed, I think, in a crowd. All of that doesn't compare to the summer of riots and destruction we have. That's manipulation in media. Let's take a look when we come back at a deeper dive on this whole thing. What's happening this week?
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Are you having problems with the IRS? Our trained professionals here at Wallen Associates have over 30 years experience helping individuals and businesses solve their tax problems.
The IRS was garnishing my paycheck, but Wallen Associates had my levy released within 48 hours. Wallen Associates got the IRS off my back, and I never had to talk to them again.
We'll meet with you in person, face-to-face, at a local office near you.
Please call 800-298-1745. That is 800-298-1745.
All right, so Mercedes, here's what we're really talking about here. We're talking about the fact that there is a cowardice that is coming over many Americans, a chill wind blowing, where people are afraid of losing their jobs, of being ostracized, of being targeted by the left. There's, as you're going to hear Candace Owens say in a moment, there's almost like a plague of confusion on one hand regarding what truth is, and cowardice on the other, which knows the truth and is reluctant to say it. So in the wake of all this white supremacy narrative, which of course serves the Democratic cause because white people are embarrassed and self-conscious about the accusation of being racist, and so they don't quite know how to respond. And this is a very cruel, blunt object being beating Americans over the head, which is a misuse of government authority at the maximum. So here's what we got. The news cycle loves to play, because the news cycle is working for the Democratic Party. This is one of my problems. I have friends of mine that say, well, I get a balanced look at news because I look at all the stations, which means CNN and NBC and ABC. They're all working for the Democrats. It's just a question of degree. So when you hear about the George Floyd verdict coming out, and the same day former police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted of murdering George Floyd, a Columbus, Ohio officer shot and killed a 16-year-old black teen, Ma'Khia Bryant. There's a headline, another shooting, and it's going to be another premise, another victim. And so the pressure is on to try to sustain the experience so that the belief can be reinforced, so that more decisions can be made that dismantle American freedoms and prop up this narrative of America's fundamental systemic sin that it can't get rid of, which is racism, which is a lie. So here's something that's interesting. There is a pushback. The media knows its credibility is so sucky that it's like in the 20 percentile. That sure, you got your liberal, wild people over here that watch their steady diet of CNN, but there's a small ratings pool compared to, like, say, Fox, which is hitting the other side of the story. But what I want you to catch now is we're putting pressure on these stations and on these outlets to tell the truth. And so you're going to start to see them doing fact-checking on themselves to make it look like they're objective. Watch this piece here, which really surprised me because it was CNN and two of my favorite cast of characters for deceptive news practice, which is, we got Lemon and Cuomo. Let's hear it.
We've got to be honest about these things. And if we're not honest about these things, as journalists, then it is a dereliction of our duty as journalists. It's journalistic malpractice not to do it.
Well, I heard some people were reporting on the incident without showing the knife.
Yeah, you got to show all of it.
Is malpractice.
Yeah, and again,
that's looking for trouble.
It's tough.
And that's wrong.
But this is where we are right now, and everyone is emotional, and I understand it. But we have to do our due diligence, and we've got to talk about these things.
Malpractice. So Mercedes, the malpractice here was that an NBC's version of the video highlight of the knife, they noted that the body camera footage shows a knife on the ground. They could have highlighted, as the other channels did, circle the picture that there is a young woman being assaulted with a knife, potentially murdered with a knife. And I think Don Lemon put it brilliantly. When they want to do it right, they do it well. It's like Bill Maher. Once out of, one every 10 times, he says something, that makes sense. And it's like, oh, it was a great quote. So what Don Lemon said is, imagine that it was your daughter in a pink dress that was about to be stabbed. Do you want that police officer to be able to do their job and stop the murder? Or do you want them to not do that? So he said, just change the scenario. So you see how the way you believe the experience, the way you interpret it, can be affected by the teacher or by the newscaster. The reality is NBC did not do the integrous job because they were tilting towards the narrative. The other stations came out in an unusual moment and actually publicly exonerated the police officer for the decision to act because the knife was clearly ready to be employed. So what do you think about that, Mercedes? And by the way, you sent me a meme. Tell me about this video clip, because I thought it was hysterical. I didn't know it was doctored up. So tell me the story with this.
Yeah, well, it's really funny, but I want to go back to what we were just talking about because I have comments on that. One is I love this idea that we covered in the first segment of the belief pyramid, because what they're trying to reinforce, the new belief is that America is divided. America is racist. And they're trying to divide us by identity politics. And so anything from, income, sex, right, gender, and especially race. And, Lance, you've said stuff like this before, too, where it's like, we elected a black president. How can America be incredibly racist when we have... Twice. Yeah, Lance is saying twice. Exactly. It's trying to create a new narrative in my mind that's not there. And I don't negate the fact that there are places in America and people who are definitely still racist. But what it was 20, 30, 10 years ago, it's like every day is getting better. Every day things are changing. And so to have a narrative here of reporting inaccurately, like you're saying, NBC, not as truthful as they could be, so much so that CNN needs to correct you. I mean, gosh, you're doing something wrong when CNN's correcting you. And then the only thing I want to hit before we get to that meme, Lance, we have the video. I don't know if you heard about it. I didn't hear about it. But I dug it up. And so this to me is not only are they reporting to create new experiences, but they're not reporting on the things that are happening. And this is in Oklahoma. There were BLM protesters that went into the Capitol building. There was about 24 of them, and they started shouting, "We will use our voices to stand up against corruption. No justice, no peace." And Lance, they're protesting about not doxing officers' information. Okay, so don't dox people. Apparently, they're protesting against that. And then also a bill that the House and Senate are putting forward in Oklahoma that increases the penalties for people who block traffic and also protects drivers who unintentionally strike the pedestrians with their car. Well, don't stand in the middle of the interstate. You know, and so that's so terrible that we have this clip that they themselves are in there creating an insurrection. But did you hear about it? Because I didn't. We can play it, Frank. So yeah, I didn't hear about this, Lance. I don't know if you did. That's probably good there.
Yeah, well, and once again, the deception here is, remember Governor Walker had 100,000 protesters when he was trying to work out the budget in Wisconsin, and they stormed the Capitol. And there were unions that stormed and occupied, and the education union. And they literally stormed into the Capitol. And kind of like the question that Tucker asked of Kamala Harris, not Kamala.
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. Slight difference there. The Candace Owens is, I still want to see that Kamala Harris video.
I know. We got
we'll get to it because I just want to get it in here. But he asked this question, and it's a profound question. He says, why are there 300 Trump people still behind bars when you have instantaneous free pass of Antifa and BLM rioters that are destroying property and burning down buildings, and within 24 hours they're out? I saw that at the inauguration of Trump. Nobody wanted to cover the story. Antifa had lawyers traveling with them. You know what I'd love to see? The financial audit of who's paying who. Like with those people protesting there. All right, so they go in there. What are they paid per hour to do that? And then what I want to know is who's paying them? See, this would be with the American. This is what 80 million of us want to know. I just want to know, are they really spontaneously walking in off the street in a sense of public outrage? Or is this not orchestrated, synchronized swimming where they're all saying the same thing? And then they got the media coverage. You know why they have to do this? They've got $2 billion of corporate funding they have to spend. Every nonprofit knows if you don't spend it, they're not going to send you any more money. So they've got to spend this. The corporations are paying for the terrorizing of American citizens and the disruption of political institutions. Look at it that way, and it'll be a real awakening. There's your wake-up call.
Definitely. All right, let's play. Lance, let's get this clip in of Candace. We've got 2 minutes left, and this is a 1-minute clip. And Candace outlines perfectly, like what Lance was just talking about, what is happening to our movement and what we need to see a resurgence of. So let's play the clip, Frank.
Let's take 3 steps back and acknowledge that only one side behaves this way. I mean, a jury in 1995 concluded that O.J. Simpson, despite DNA evidence, hadn't murdered 2 people, and there were no riots. But more to the point, there are a lot of people sitting behind, Trump voters sitting behind bars right now, have been for months, charged effectively with trespassing. We're not speculating. We've seen the charges. No Republican in the Congress stands up for them. Nobody mentions that. Nobody, is for prison reform when it's their political enemies. That's not equal justice, but nobody says it. Why is that?
Because we have 2 pandemics going on right now. There's a pandemic of ignorance in this country, and that is only allowed to fly because we also have a pandemic of cowardice in this country, okay? So we have people that are purposefully putting out a bunch of ignorant claims, and then we have people that are too cowardly to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong. There has been so much that has been going on in this country that is wrong. You talk about it, I talk about it, but we do not have people that are sitting in Congress that are willing to take this fight where it needs to be taken.
Powerful.
So here's the other side of this. Now catch this. We have the belief pyramid, right? You got your experiences, create your beliefs. You see how powerful freedom of speech is, people? Do you see why you've got to thank God for America and why you've got to show up and why it is so It's so strange to see even people that have pulpits and Freedom Right Now blathering on and bloviating about irrelevant subject matter when the preservation of your own freedom of speech should be the one thing you need, because Candace Owens lit a fire with that one segment. And she created a new belief system for people that needed the truth. We're going to be back with more of this in a moment. You don't want to miss a second of this program.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Are you having problems with the IRS? Our trained professionals here at Wallen Associates have over 30 years experience helping individuals and businesses solve their tax problems.
The IRS was garnishing my paycheck, but Wallen Associates had my levy released within 48 hours. Wallen Associates got the IRS off my back, and I never had to talk to them again.
We'll meet with you in person, face-to-face, at a local office near you.
Please call 800-298-1745. That is 800-298-1745.
Well, we have this American moment that's happening right now between now and 2022, and I think that the more focused we are, the better. One of my big frustrations with all the QAnon distractions is that they are distractions. There's only a couple of strategic points where we have to show up because we're like a fragmented community out there. And so the left has the advantage of institutional occupation. They've got that media and political and academic and corporate, and Hollywood high places, those mountains of influence. So we have to be a populist movement that pushes back. And what I love is the discovery of some great journalists that are out there on the front lines. And we're going to hear from Ben in a moment, who is actually on the front lines, going from state to state to state. And right now, I believe Ben is in Georgia. I want to find out what's going on there. And Mercedes and I want to hear about the wall. Well, yeah, about what's happening with the border in Texas and the Midwest, because as we know, there is a multi-pronged takedown happening of American culture right now, and the left is celebrating it because they don't understand the results they're getting from the decisions that they're making. But you that are enlightened can see it. So why don't we catch up, Mercedes, with Ben right now and hear about his road trip and what he's discovering. Hey, Ben.
Hey, how's it going, Lance and Mercedes? So I just want to thank you first off, Lance. Your work with the Seven Mountains, talking about that, really inspired a lot of my focus in what we're doing in this fight to save America with the populist movement, everything else. But it is, for the American people out there that are watching, it is all connected. Whether we're talking about border issues, border sovereignty, every state is a border state. If we open the borders, it's coming to your neighborhood. You're going to have more angel families. We're going to have more deaths, more crime. Everything is connected. But it's all connected even beyond that to the election fraud, to election laws, to all of this. Everything that we're seeing, everything is connected. And so we're starting, it's a bus tour from here in just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. It's the Save America Freedom Tour, Real America's Voice, partnering up with my buddy Jeremy Harold of Live from America. And we're going to be taking that bus down to McAllen, Texas on Wednesday. So we're starting here. We're going to be making several stops along the way through Alabama, Mississippi, down into Texas, ending at the border with Border Patrol and angel families and folks that have been affected by this. And along the way, we've got a group here, a crowd here that's joining us. You guys excited for us to be here? So we're going to be talking to them, folks on the ground, finding out what matters to them. Obviously, we know what matters to us, but to really get the full picture of what makes America great, what made America great, and the things that are destroying America to try to make America great again.
Well, Ben, let me ask you a question, because I want to make sure everybody knows that you're actually, you and Jeremy are Real America's Voice correspondents. So you're like the original Geraldo Rivera for our side. He used to do this stuff. He'd go out there and put himself right in the line of fire to get a story. I've seen you do this since I've known you. It's amazing. I've seen you get physically beaten. I mean, you know, it didn't inspire me to want to go with you, but I'll tell you that, because, you know, you were actually bearing the scars in your body of your journalistic crusade. But I want to also hear from Jeremy. And what is it about Jeremy that people need to know about?
Well, I've been really kind of doing what Ben's been doing since late 2015, when I first seen President Trump, because that's what I call him, because that's what he still is in my mind. But when I seen President Trump come down those stairs, I was in the music business at that time. And I completely left the music business to focus all of my skills on doing music, which I called MAGA music, which ended up leading me to write a song called Build the Wall, which ended up becoming like a national anthem at Trump rallies everywhere. I was getting tagged everywhere, and then it blew up to me doing my own correspondence. And I really, much like the rest of America, we found out during President Trump's first term how strong and how powerful each state was. State representatives, state senate. And I think over the last 4 decades, we've kind of lost that, and people, regular everyday people, have pulled themselves out of politics when that was the last thing that we should have done. And you see what happened. Federal government runs rampant. And now we're starting to see, hey, the power is in the states. So my whole goal was to do a show called Live from America twice a day, where I get people involved. I find out what's going on, what bills are being introduced and authored in each state, getting people involved, getting them to make phone calls, for some of them the first time in their lives. And a lot like Steve Bannon's audience, it's a very action-itemed, determined, loyal audience who makes things happen. So this whole thing is about giving America a voice and bringing that power back to the individual in each state.
Absolutely. That's the stuff Lance and I'm so sold on, that what's coming is states' rights. It's people being reawakened to states' rights over federal government. And so tell me about, you're going to all these different states. So what is the focus? Is it the same focus? Do they have different focus? So like, what are you doing in Georgia and these next stops that you've got?
Well, this is the you know, each state has somewhat different issues. You know, you go everywhere, but the enemy is the same. Kind of going back to the Seven Mountains, going back to the sheep versus wolves, sheep versus killer sheep. I mean, killer sheep. I want to stick on your references, Lance. Sheep and goats.
Sheep and goats.
Yeah, but going back to that, each area has similar. So from California, we have radical environmentalism that's destroying our state. Well, guess what? You go across the country, you have the same leftists doing the same thing. It's the tactics. Each place they might use slightly different tactics, but the enemy is the same. And so it's finding out what those battles are that they're facing, whether it's from the election, because to me, the key in all of this is the election. If we can't trust our election sovereignty, our election integrity, we don't have a country anymore. And the same thing, if we can't trust our borders, if we don't have border sovereignty, we don't have a country anymore. So it's getting to those fundamental issues. Obviously, God is the foundation. We've removed God from society. We're watching kids that are being told that they're victims and oppressed, being able to go and burn down their own communities. This is just not okay. And so it's talking to people on the ground, getting it from them. We're going to be talking to them, getting it from their own, and seeing where we agree and where we disagree, finding out those common ground, those places of common ground where we can unite, real unity. I was just talking to Kelvin King, who's actually running against what's the guy? Warnock here. Raphael Warnock here, and we've got an interview with him, and he's talking about it, real unity, not what the Democrats sell, this garbage fake unity, not the made up terms that they use, but what really brings us together as Americans.
Man, I love the energy of your live audience there too. So tell me, where did you find these people out there? Are they just are they part of the traveling road crew, or are you running into MAGA people wherever you go?
I don't know if we can get the mic out into the crowd, but we've got you guys. If we can get that the crowd shot, where are you guys? So Lance wants to know, where are you guys from? Why are you guys here? We're going to give each person a little quick second to jump in on that. What brings you out here today, and why does it matter to you to come here?
I am from Bartow County, just north of here, and it's very important to me to listen to the different things that we're talking about today, because freedom is everything. We are living in this country, and our freedoms are being chiseled away day by day, and I just appreciate what Real America News and Jeremy Harrell are doing to bring attention to this and help us fight for our freedoms.
Anyone else? What matters most to you? What keeps you awake at night?
I'm Pamela Reardon, and the things that we saw during this election and what's transgressed since then keep me up at night. So I decided to run for the first vice chair for the state party for the GOP, meaning Georgia. G stands for Georgia First, O stands for Opportunity for All, and P stands for prosperity. And if we stick to our principles and unite, we can win against what's happening in our country right now. And we can make sure that in every single one of these swing states, we have the power to bring light to what has happened during the elections, so that we can always see that we actually did win.
Amen. Amen.
Wow. We'll be talking to more, Lance. We'll be talking to more folks. I mean, that's really the whole premise of this, is to talk to people. We're going to be inviting them out as we go. We're going to be stopping in New Orleans and in Houston, I believe, and maybe a few stops along the way. Some unannounced stops where we just go out into the community and see what people think. It's really it's what news should be. It's what we should be doing. It's what our networks is all about. Real America's Voice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the greatest thing about America is the passion for freedom, right? We are the beacon. Who was it? Ronald Reagan says, if you lose it here, it's gone. Yeah. It's over with. Like, this is the last stand. So you have to ask yourself, if you're watching at home right now, if you're sitting at home, if you're sitting at work, if you're in your car listening, whatever it is, if you, what hill do you want to die on? That's really what it comes down to. What metaphorical hill do you want to die on? And I would say this is probably the most important hill for all of us to die on right now.
So that's it. That's going to be it, Lance. We want you to stay tuned. We're going to be doing live hits all the way along the way, bringing it to you as we go. We'll be doing some on social media. We'll be coming to the network, Real America's Voice News. You can find it on FrontlineAmerica.com. You can find it on JeremyHarrell.com.
Yep.
It's going to be an amazing trip. And then we'll be down there in McAllen on Wednesday.
Ben Bergquam and Jeremy Harrell, Real America's Voice on the Frontline Correspondents. I am envious of what you're doing. I love it. I think this is going to really catch fire. Mercedes, the populist movement is real, and this is just like dipping your toe in the margin of it. But did you hear that one lady say that she's running for office This is what's great about this audience. The Real America's Voice audience is an action audience. This is not a group of spectators just kind of, flipping around the dials. By the way, we read your comments. Want you to leave your comments in the comments section. And Mercedes, I also want them to know that they could keep track of you on Follow Sadie's, right? And I think it's great because your name is Mercedes, so it's very witty. Follow Sadie's. And they can keep working with you and follow Lance Wallnau, because we're going to be following Ben and the battle on the front lines in America. You can bet your pippy on that. We'll be back in a moment.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
There's the guy who said his trade-in was in perfect condition.
Well, what do you think?
Well, let's see here. It looks pretty nice on the outside. Oh, got a teeny tiny scratch right there, and whoa, game changer. You didn't tell me that you had WeatherTech floor liners?
Of course. I also have the cargo liner and seat protector.
I mean, the carpet looks brand new.
So what do you think of my trade-in now?
It just went up, way up.
Thought so.
Protect your investment. Order your American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
You know, one of the entertaining experiences we have as conservatives and people that are Trump supporters is like with Babylon Bee, when that first kind of got on my radar. And this would be a satirical site. And originally it was poking fun at eccentricities in the evangelical movement by, it looked to me like millennial, like my kids, because my kids would be laughing at it. And it'd be like tongue-in-cheek stuff about political correctness. And then it evolved into something more, where the headlines were so in-your-face ridiculous that the inside joke was we knew exactly what they were saying, but then it would be like refuted and fact-checked by like CNN or Facebook or these other media outlets. And it made it even funnier because the left took it seriously. And then it got really weird because they would be predicting stuff. They'd say stuff that was outrageous, and then it ends up actually happening. It's kind of like the Simpson episodes I'd hear about where it would talk about Donald Trump being president or a female president in the future. And it's like, wow, this is most unusual. But Mercedes sent me something. I wanted to get to it in an earlier segment. This seems like the right place to put it. And it's where you have the Prime Minister of Japan meeting with Vice President Harris. And this is weird because, President Biden should be the one doing it. So people are wondering, where is he? But they're always propping up Harris as the next president, if you see that kind of pyramid going on all the time. But the funny thing is, it's an altered video. So if you see the original one, he's standing there kind of like a hostage with a mask on, looking really out of place. And she's doing her scripted opening with, I don't know if she's wearing her mask or not, but the guy, they doctor it up. And so Mercedes sends it to me, and he's holding like a MAGA sign for Trump 2020 or something. It has a MAGA hat on, and it's obviously not true. But
I like how you explain the whole joke. It's just like, let's just show the clip.
All right. But I just want to, because I know people might think it's for real. That's why I'm saying it. It's like Babylon
think this is for real. If you're a liberal, you'll think this is for real. If you're a conservative, you have a sense of humor. So Frank, let's play this little clip.
Play it.
It is now my great pleasure to welcome the Prime Minister of Japan and to thank him for this visit, which is the first visit to the United States of a world leader since he came in office. The President and I are very excited about the conversations we will have with the Prime Minister today. As you know,
so funny.
Mr. Prime Minister, you and I met just about a month.
Okay, there we go. So it's hilarious, though, Lance, because I posted this on my social media. I laughed so hard at it because we've all seen our meeting with him last week. And then I'm like, who did this? I titled it, I was like, who did this? Because it's so funny. And then so days go by. It gets like thousands of views. Days go by. And then all of a sudden, I noticed it's got warnings. I've got warnings on Instagram and on Facebook. And so I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'm looking at it in the preview screen. It's so tiny, but they're sitting there and they're like, the Prime Minister of Japan did not actually hold a Trump 2020 sign. He did not actually wear a MAGA hat. And I was like, what? We're going to start explaining now that, magic card tricks aren't actually magic and it's sleight of hand? Like, how obvious do we need to be? I mean, I know it's editing, but the editing's not that good. So it's just hilarious to me that Facebook and Instagram fact-checked it and put a little cover over top of that video. So I had to share it with you, Lance.
No, anybody that does social media knows what this is like, because I get these COVID fact, banners popping up whenever I happen to mention something about, covering the vaccine and Johnson & Johnson and what's happening. It's like, I get the facts. It's like they immediately say, don't listen to this guy, listen to this. It's like bizarro. But
that's
here's
that
the
mind control you were talking about earlier.
It is. I'm telling you, it's that pyramid. They're constantly trying to condition your beliefs to make you change your decisions so you can become a Marxist, utopian, totalitarian, druid or something like that. So let's talk about what's happening in Georgia real quick, because this is part of the story. You heard Ben starting with their tour there in Georgia, because this is where, if we don't get the elections, why this I'm saying, don't get confused on other subjects. Election integrity is number one. You're never going to see a representative of yours in office if we don't sort out election theft and manipulation. So we have to have election reform. It has to go through. We have to do this thing. And in the age of ballots and the age of China and the Communist Party, I'm concerned you can almost predict a new strain is going to be coming out before election cycles in America of some new virus which will force people to have to go to ballots instead of polling places. You watch, because it's all manipulated. That's what I learned from Bannon, and I learned that from Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart. So here's what I want you to catch. In Georgia, corporations are now funding. I told you they got $2 billion in BLM, and they have to deliver because the globalists want to get into that China market. They don't care about America's economy. They care about making their killing in the financial sphere. This is the danger. So there are major brands donating to the Black Lives Matter movement, and there are major brands that are punishing Georgia because of election integrity. And you saw this with Coca-Cola, which we call Woca-Cola, and you see this with Delta Airlines. But I thought I'd give you the list, because if we're saying there's like billions of dollars of corporate funding on this, you need to know that Apple has funded this, Amazon and Microsoft. This was their response. I think this was PR after the George Floyd incident. Mm-hmm. But the ongoing damage that is happening is Walmart and Target. But I want to say this. Home Depot has Mercedes refused to bow the knee to bail. And so they're getting hammered by the left right now. So I want you to shop at Home Depot, because Home Depot in Georgia is not joining in the censorship and condemnation of election reform. They're not bowing the knee. And so Home Depot is standing strong. So we're giving them a thumbs up right now. We have, what's this, EA Games, Square Enix. Our millennials know more about what these are. These are the big game companies, I guess. Ubisoft, Etsy. These are the ones that are funding. This is funding the BLM activism.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is the thing, Lance, that really, I mean, right after the George Floyd incident, this was back in, I pulled this from June, and this was when they raised around $2.5 billion. And you're right that it's coming from corporations. I mean, Walmart's $100 million, Target's $10 million. We've got, like you said, EA Games is $1 million, Ubisoft is $100,000, Etsy is $1 million, H&M is $500,000. I mean, the list literally goes on and on. I can't tell you how thick this document is. It's probably 40 pages. Spanx, all right, Spanx, ladies, $200,000, all going to BLM. And where did that money go? Where'd that money go? You know what we just found out this week? Patrice picked up I think it was 4 mega mansions, $1 million mansions.
Well, who's that? Who's Patrice?
So Patrice Cullors is one of the co-founders of BLM. And so she's out there picking up houses this week. And I know we have a tear out for it. There's a picture of one of the homes there. And so and then she's eyeing property all over the place. So, where's the money really going? And then, like you said, Lance, earlier, who's paying those people in the Oklahoma state Senate and House protesting, just barging in there? Who's getting paid for that? Who's getting paid for the rioters? Where's the money coming from? You look at the funding sources here, and it's coming from corporations,
I'll tell you something that makes me so upset, because the FBI should have been delivering a report. Boy, did Steve Bannon on War Room do a sizzle reel on taking it to task. The FBI, right after the Officer Sicknick, who was supposedly killed by Trump rioters, he came back and said, why was the assistant deputy in the FBI, when they were delivering, did they not have a forensic file to correct the public perception that Trump people had killed that officer? And did not the family of that officer plead with the government not to turn their son into a political asset for the Democrat Party to play with? And they did it anyway. And so we have a need in America for the integrity of the institutions like the FBI to be recovered. Listen, 80 million to 100 million Americans are watching this, and they do not have confidence in the way the government's behaving itself. And they don't have confidence in its Department of Justice. It doesn't have confidence in the FBI. And there has to be a major course correction. But I want to say something. There's good news. Many of you are needlessly traumatized by the endless cycle of what's going wrong. So let me just give you an encouraging word here from Politico as we're wrapping up. And Politico isn't always going out of its way to be kind to conservatives. I can promise you that. But they're saying that it doesn't look like the effort of the Democrats to pack the Supreme Court is going to get enormous buy-in. Thank God for America's founders that created election cycles so that every 2 years congressmen have to make believe that they're honest so that they can sell themselves getting back into office. And senators are up for re-election every 6 years. That happens to fall in 2022. But the feeling is that the packing of the courts is going to go over like a lead balloon because of the election cycle. Same thing with the threat about the D.C. becoming a state. D.C. is a city. Can you imagine making a city into a state with 2 senators? Doesn't look like D.C. statehood is going to be working too well. So I just want to encourage you that there's a 50-50 balance in that Senate. And boy, I know we're in a fragile place with that filibuster that could be taken away. But America, as you raise up your voices, as you mobilize at a state level, at a local level, your representatives push back and the firewall becomes the states against the bloated, freakishly totalitarian type government media alliance. But there's good news there because there's resistance sufficient to hold off that agenda. We're looking forward to seeing you again next week. We're going to be bringing you some big breaking news because this is going to be a huge week. And I'm thankful that you're with us. See you soon.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
It's my voice. It's your voice. It's Real America's Voice. You're watching Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News. Real America's Voice News is a platform that celebrates America every day.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Don't miss 1 minute of Real America's Voice News. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay in tune with what's happening now on Real America's Voice.
God bless America. Thank you for being here.
There's finally a platform for your news and your voice. Real America's Voice News is the perfect news companion, featuring breaking news and expert commentary to get you through your day. Real America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay up to date with Real America's Voice News.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I am so excited to be anchoring this special coverage of the Save America Freedom Tour. You guys, this is going to be something that is going to be all across America. We will be crisscrossing the country, and you will have the opportunity to travel to a city nearby, or maybe even your city, to come out and see this bus. It's spectacular. I just saw it. I will actually see it in person next week when I am on the ground in Texas with our correspondent, Ben Bergquam. We will be on the border in McAllen, Texas, and we are so excited to bring you information and news as it is breaking from the road. Ben Bergquam, you are down there on the ground in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, I know that there are some woke corporations who don't view Atlanta as a worthy location for their events, but we here at Real America's Voice, we see Atlanta otherwise.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, it's a critical place to really start this journey from, starting here in Atlanta, where this battle is going on. We've seen what happened with the election first, and then the election laws that they passed in order to preserve the integrity of our elections going forward for 2022 and 2024. That's why we're actually starting here. This is one of the pivotal locations in this battle for America, for the freedom of this country. So we're going to be talking about elections. We're starting here at the Star Cafe. Got a great group of folks out here. I've got my buddy Jeremy Harrell of Live from America, the hip hop patriot, and we're going to be going across this country and talking to the people, what's really happening in their neck of the woods, and then ultimately ending up down on the border in McAllen, Texas, talking to Border Patrol. We've got an amazing special that's going to be 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday down there on the border. It's going to be incredible, Amanda. Jeremy, what are you hoping to see? What are you expecting to see? And by the way, the whole bus thing, this was Jeremy's idea. Jeremy actually sponsored this. He came to us and said, Real America's Voice, let's do this thing. I'm like, man, this is so perfect. We're talking about doing these town halls. It just, like, to put the bus, to connect them was so genius.
Well, I'd like to give the credit to my audience that watches Live from America, the show that I do, because they're the ones that actually subscribe and donate and allow us to be able to do this kind of thing. And I thought, what better way, to give back than to do this? To get out there and not only to give back, but for the people to give their opinions, for the people to give their frustrations without a twisted, lamestream media, spin on it. And that was the whole thing. It's like we all speak the same language. I was just talking to some folks here that said what you just said sounded like I was saying it. And I said, that's the whole point. That is what Real America's Voice is all about. That's what Live from America is all about. And we don't care about Coca-Cola or Delta or any of the other lame stream woke woketopia that they live in. This is real America, and we're going to go and we're going to get the opinions of real America, and we're going to get to the truth, whether it be in Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. It's a domino effect, and we're going to be out there working to get that done.
And we're going to be talking to folks here on the ground at the Star Cafe. But before we do that, Amanda, we're talking about elections and the impacts of the elections. I know you've got somebody there that knows all about it.
Yes, absolutely. And, guys, we've got so many topics to discuss. Obviously, we will save a lot of the immigration conversation for next week when we are in Texas. But since we are in Georgia, I think it is a great time to talk about election fraud, because Georgia is home to a lot of wonderful things, but it unfortunately, as a result of this past election, is home to a lot of investigations into voter fraud and election fraud. So for that reason, we want to bring in a very special guest, Luke Martin. He's the Floyd County GOP chairman. Luke, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Okay, so Floyd County, talk to us a little bit about Floyd County, because, we hear so much about Fulton County. Talk to us about Floyd County, the demographics, what happened there with respect to the election. Were there any shenanigans that happened there, or was it really just centralized in Fulton County? Just give us kind of a 30,000-foot view of that.
Sure. So Floyd County is in northwest Georgia, and we had some real issues here. We are a county that is solid red. We went 75% for President Trump, both in 2020 and 2016. But we were one of the counties in Georgia that found that we missed 3,000 approximately votes. So after the election, after November 3rd, we do a hand recount, an audit, and we discover that 2,700 to 3,000 votes weren't counted. So that was a big issue that we had to really dive into, and it revealed some serious problems with the way our elections are handled in Georgia.
So in light of that information, these votes that just, vaporized basically, and I use that term because I'm rereading 1984, so that term sticks in my head. In light of that information, do you find that voters are not as, I guess, politically interested and involved? Because I know for a lot of people, I'm in California, but for swing states, a lot of people kind of feel like, you know, what's the point in voting? And I know a lot of people felt like that in the special elections for those 2 Senate seats.
Absolutely. In Northwest Georgia, we are one of the, again, most solidly red districts, and about 4,000 Republican voters did not show up for the Senate runoffs. And that is a big reason why the Republicans lost, is because Republicans didn't show up to vote. And that is all because they lost confidence in the elections based on what happened in November. But I can tell you, as a party, a local party, we have seen our membership swell when the election laws have come out. Our members are fired up. We want to make things right. We want to get ready for 2022. And we're happy with the new election integrity bills. It could have gone a little further, but we're satisfied with it. And I think that's going to help bring confidence back to our elections.
How frustrated are you? You know, we all know that Raphael Warnock signed off on an email that he later admitted included some pretty egregiously false information about this election bill. You have all of these woke companies and politicians and Hollywood celebrities. I don't know why they think they can stick their nose in it, but basically passing this off as something that is, oppressive and all of that, all of the terminology that they use for that, when in actuality it actually makes it easier to vote. It just makes it harder to cheat. How frustrating has that been for you to try to combat the blatant lies?
It's extremely frustrating. I mean, no one reads the bill. It's, it's 95, 98 pages. That's not a lot. It's, won't take you a day to read the election law. You can very simply see, we still allow no excuse absentee ballots. A lot of people wanted those gone, but you can still get an absentee ballot for any reason. All you have to do is put your driver's license number on it. If you don't have a driver's license, go get a free voter ID. If you don't have a free voter ID, there's an entire list of documents you can provide. We expanded early voting, and actually this law mandated absentee ballot drop boxes, which technically don't exist absent the COVID-19 emergency, which the governor is going to remove that emergency order. And so drop boxes don't exist in Georgia, but now this bill allowed it. It expands access to voting. We have the longest period of early voting likely in the country. And so, yeah, these corporations, these Hollywood liberals complaining about it, they're just too lazy to read 95 pages. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, compared to a lot of bills, that's actually a very, very short bill, just 90 pages. Because this is Real America's Voice, it's right there in our title that we want to lend a voice for our viewers. I know that a lot of people, they're happy about Georgia and other states that are trying to pass election reform bills, but a lot of people are still saying, all right, I don't care. I mean, that's great moving forward, but we're still worried about 2020. So as far as the state of investigations, because I know that there are a number of them, we've been covering them on this network, what's the status of those?
I think some of them are still pending. There's still some hope that, maybe there can be a procedure developed for signature audits. And so we're still going to wait and see. Unfortunately, the people who are trying to look into it, the voters who are concerned about this, are really being prevented by state leadership. The Secretary of State doesn't want to dig into this. He's been fighting the lawsuits to not allow some of these investigations. So that's really frustrating. But again, we can sit back and say, at least our legislature and our governor signed this bill into law. So there is hope for election integrity going forward.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people are starting to throw their name in the ring for governor. I think Brian Kemp is probably going to have some pretty stiff competition, one of which just recently announced, Vernon Jones. How are you looking at this governor race going, is it next year, 2022? With all of these folks who are starting to flood the field, who do you think is going to emerge as the front runner to go up against Brian Kemp?
Well, we'll see. Vernon Jones is a lifelong Democrat, but he was a big Trump supporter. I mean, he was a big friend to Republican parties. He even came and spoke to the Republican Party in Floyd County, and was very well received by our members. He's a very likable guy. We'll need to really look into his policies and see if he's wavered, from his liberal past. We passed a heartbeat bill preventing abortions after 6 weeks in Georgia. Vernon Jones voted against that twice. I think that's something he'll need to explain himself to in the base. Now, he gets a lot of things right about election integrity, but I think the voters are going to have some questions for him, and I look forward to hearing him on the campaign trail. So we still got a long time before the primary really begins. So we'll see who jumps into the race.
Well, Luke Martin, we appreciate you so much, Chairman of Floyd County GOP.